you could have chosen to write about anything. Why choose to write about spending money?
I'll take it back to the start of my career. The ultimate goal was be an investment banker on Wall Street. And I knew I loved investing. Even at that age, I used to go to Barnes & Noble and read investing books. I was fascinated with money. And then I haphazardly got a job as a writer because I graduated in 2008. The economy was a wreck and nobody was hiring. The only finance job that I could find was as a writer for the Motley Fool. Didn't want to be a writer, hated writing, was embarrassed that I had dreams to be a powerful investment banker, and now I was a journalist. But I actually pretty quickly fell in love with it. And what I loved about it was I loved being an outsider who was not being influenced by the incentives of that career. As a writer, I could just be on the outside looking in. I felt like I was just up in the bleachers looking down. And to me, money, I think, has more fascinating social stories in it than almost any other field, where how you spend money and how you save money and your ambitions are such a window into who you are.
What can you tell about someone from the way that they spend money?
So much of it is about your ambitions and who you think about yourself. I'm not anti-materialistic at all, and I really don't judge other people. But when I see somebody driving a yellow Lamborghini, I'm like, there's a story there. And it's not a judging story, but that's a story of who you want to be and what you want to show off. I found this headline from 1929, just before the Great Depression. It was in the Washington Post. The more you are snubbed while poor, the more you enjoy displaying being rich. For a lot of people, the more you are showing off or you just desire to show off, a lot of it is a wound that was inflicted upon you. Sometimes you're not even showing off for other people. You're doing it to prove to yourself, signal to yourself that I did it. I remember talking to Anthony Scaramucci about this. He grew up in one social class where the ultimate signal that you made it to your was the Lamborghini. So he said, I don't want it for other people. I want to do it to show myself. That kid who grew up down there made it up here. So it's a signaling and a story either way. It's an interesting window into who you are.
You see this across people who spend a lot of time beautifying themselves because they probably at one point in their life felt quite ugly.
Yeah.
Somebody who spends a lot of time accumulating power. Well, at one point they probably felt pretty powerless.
Yeah.
Somebody who tries to accumulate a lot of wealth. Well, they felt like they maybe didn't have very much freedom, or they didn't have very much independence, or they were very poor. It's somebody who makes themselves very powerful and very strong and very big. Well, at one point they probably felt very weak. It's not a wonderful lesson because in the calling out of it, it sort of derogates the thing that most people are chasing. So look how hard I worked to get to this place. And you're telling me this is part of just some childhood ancestral wound thing. But if you look around closely, the reliability of being able to pattern match what somebody becomes and what it is that they fear or what they used to be is really high hit.
And the saying that a lot of people know, hurt people hurt. The way that we behave and act is a reflection of insecurities, things that were done to us, or even positive experiences that we've had in life. I think a lot of people who grew up very wealthy understand very acutely what money cannot do for you. When you're poor, it's easy to tell yourself, that's the solution to all my problems. That if only I had that much money, then this hole I have in my soul would go away. And the people who grew up rich know that that's not true.
Will a big house make you happier?
If you use it as a way to have better relationships with people. If you have a big house so you can have 20 of your best buddies over every Friday night and have a great time, yes. If you have a big house because that's what you need for you and your spouse to have 5 kids and that's your meaning and purpose in life, yes, absolutely. But if you're using it as a way of just because that's what you should want, then it can be pretty miserable. Harvey Firestone, who created Firestone tires, he wrote a biography in the 1920s. And he pointed this out. He said, every wealthy person that he knows, without exception, buys a gigantic house. And every single one of them, without exception, finds it to just be a tremendous burden. And he was like, why do we do it? He even said Henry Ford, who at the time was like a cheap miser. Like even Henry Ford has a gigantic house that he hates. There has to be something in the human soul that just associates large property with success. A big house is a tremendous amount of upkeep. A lot of people who live in those giant homes will eventually basically seclude themselves to a small little corner of that house that feels homely. I have a friend whose parents live in a 20,000 square foot house, and he gave us a tour. And the tour was basically down that hall, there's 4 bedrooms that nobody ever uses. Down this hall, there's a room. It was going to be a gym, but nobody ever uses it. He was giving us a tour of places that are never used. They basically secluded themselves to the kitchen, living room, bedroom, and that was it. But I think this is why it's such a fascinating topic, because people have always done that and they will always do it.